In professional snooker, referees usually stay in the background, making sure the game runs smoothly while players focus on winning. But in 2024, one big moment put Desislava Boshalova in the spotlight. A high-stakes match, a tense clash with a snooker legend, and the pressure of the World Championship. This moment changed her career. Let's take a look at what happened and why it was so important. It's 1990, and snooker is everywhere. Your dad, your nan, even your little brother, all glued to the TV when the World Championship is on. The Crucible in Sheffield is the venue for 2 weeks a year. Millions are tuning in to the BBC. Then there's Alex Higgins, the Hurricane. 2 world titles and a heap of talent, but also a reputation for causing trouble. At 41, he's not the player he once was. He loses 10-6 to Steve James. It should have been the end of the story. But Alex wasn't finished, not by a long shot. What happens next is something no one expected, and it leaves everyone speechless. The 1990 World Snooker Championship final between Alex the Hurricane Higgins and Steve James started off like any other match. Higgins, a 2-time world champion, had a solid reputation, and everyone expected him to perform at his best. But this game was anything but normal. From the beginning, it was clear something wasn't right with Higgins. He wasn't playing like the champion he once was. As the match went on, it became obvious that Higgins had been drinking. His steps were unsteady, and the sharp focus he was known for was missing. Later, it was revealed that he had consumed 27 alcoholic drinks during the match. The lights went out, and then he went to his dressing room, put on a bow tie, and made his way to the press conference. It was estimated that he had dispatched 27 shots of vodka during the game. The effects were noticeable. His shots were off, and he kept making mistakes that were uncharacteristic of him. The great player we once knew seemed like a completely different person. By the end of the match, Higgins had been beaten 10-6 by Steve James. On the surface, it seemed like a normal score, but the way he played told a different story. It was hard to watch a man who had once been so dominant struggle with simple shots. His decline was obvious, and fans couldn't help but notice it. Things took an even darker turn after the match ended. In a shocking moment, Higgins physically assaulted a tournament official. No one expected this, especially not at such a prestigious event. Fans and players were left in disbelief, and the incident made headlines around the world. But the chaos didn't stop there. During the press conference, Higgins, slurring his words, announced that he was retiring from snooker.
Shove your snooker up your jacksie. I'm not playing no more. I won't be raising a cue again. I've had all sorts of shit thrown at me by the media over the last 6-7 years.
His speech was confusing and unclear, and it was hard to watch. The combination of the violence, public breakdown, and his retirement announcement turned this event into one of the most talked-about moments in snooker history.
And, well, let's see what you do without me, because I ain't playing no more. Good night, boys. Alex,
it marked the tragic fall of a player who had once been at the peak of his career. Alex Higgins was no stranger to controversy long before his breakdown in 1990. Throughout his snooker career, he often found himself in trouble because of his behavior. One of the most shocking moments came in 1986, when he got into a confrontation with a referee and headbutted him.
I'm sorry. I'm staying here. You play and I'll referee.
It's very simple of you guys.
I know it is. Right? Right. Don't argue, please. This is a world championship. You play. I'm staying here.
I'd like to have the same chances as everyone else.
But it didn't end there. In an even stranger act, Higgins stood in a plant pot and urinated in front of a stadium full of people. That he peed in a pot late one night, and that he was dealt with by the WPBSA the morning after the tournament. These bizarre actions weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a troubling pattern that continued throughout his career. Higgins also had a history of verbal outbursts. He would argue with officials, insult players, and even vent at fans. His temper was quick to flare, and it often led to fines and warnings. Each of these incidents demonstrated to the public that Higgins struggled to control his emotions. His off-table antics became as famous as his skills on the table, creating a mix of admiration and fear among those who followed him. By 1990, his behavior had reached a breaking point. What had started as loud arguments and minor outbursts of violence had turned into something far worse. During the World Snooker Championship that year, Higgins crossed a line no one expected. His attack on a tournament official was the most violent and publicized moment of aggression in his career. It wasn't only a matter of a player losing his temper, he physically attacked a man doing his job. The chaos didn't stop there. The world watched in shock as Higgins, clearly drunk, played his match. His drunken behavior was shown on TV, and it was painful to watch a once great player lose control like that. The mix of violence and alcohol had a devastating effect on his career. The 1990 incident destroyed his reputation, and it changed how fans and players saw him from that point on. The Sun led the charge with shocking headlines that caught everyone's attention. Alex Higgins, drunk and out of control, was a far cry from the sport's usual clean-cut image. Snooker was supposed to be a quiet game, something your parents could watch without worry. Higgins's breakdown completely changed that perception. What was once a game of gentlemen now seemed chaotic. The sport's respectability was at risk, and many fans feared it would push away the very people who had supported it for so long. The damage was immediate. Big sponsors like Embassy Cigarettes started to reconsider their connections to snooker. We had several telephone bids, and there was an awful lot of interest. No brand wanted to be tied to a sport that now felt unstable and unpredictable. What had been a refined pursuit was quickly turning into a spectacle, and businesses didn't want to be linked to that. The BBC, which had long been a staple broadcaster of snooker, felt the pressure as well. With the sport's reputation now tarnished by drunkenness and violence, would people still want to watch it on primetime? The risk of losing snooker's TV deal made the future of the sport uncertain. The 1990 scandal only added to the negative stereotypes surrounding snooker. Drinking, bad behavior, and strange antics were now the main focus of the headlines. Snooker found itself at a crossroads. It was gaining popularity, but losing credibility. The 1990 World Snooker Championship scandal forced the sport's governing body to act quickly. Alex Higgins received a £12,000 fine, clearly signalling that his behavior wouldn't be ignored. On top of the fine, he was banned for the entire 1990-91 season, effectively keeping him out of the game for a year. The decision made it clear: snooker valued professionalism and respect, and violent actions would not be tolerated, no matter the player's fame. After the scandal, the sport took steps to ensure that this kind of behavior wouldn't happen again. Stricter codes of conduct were introduced, requiring players to maintain higher standards both on and off the table. These rules helped protect snooker's integrity and image. Higgins's actions served as a warning to others, and over time, the sport worked to rebuild its reputation. As the years went on, snooker became more disciplined, setting the stage for a more professional future. By 1990, snooker had reached its peak. The sport had become a national obsession, drawing millions of viewers. Players like Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry, and Jimmy White were more than just snooker champions. They were household names. The 1985 World Championship final between Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor attracted 18.5 million viewers, proving snooker had firmly established itself in British culture. But with the sport's popularity came friction. Snooker had always had its share of scandals. One of the most famous was the 1981 altercation between John Virgo and Cliff Wilson. It made headlines and raised concerns about player behavior. Unlike other precision sports that focus on calmness and control, snooker seemed to attract more off-table drama. These incidents made it harder to keep the sport's clean image intact. The fallout from the 1990 scandal marked the end of Higgins's career at the top level, Though he made a comeback after serving his ban, he was never the same player. His performances lacked the energy and flair that had once made him a star. In the years that followed, Higgins's health and finances declined. When he passed away in 2010, it felt like the end of an unforgettable chapter. His life became a cautionary tale about how personal struggles can destroy even the most promising careers. Snooker, however, managed to weather the storm. With new talent like Stephen Hendry emerging, the sport gained fresh momentum. The crisis led to stricter rules, which helped to restore snooker's credibility. Over time, the sport regained its footing, becoming known once again as a disciplined and world-class competition. The events of 1990 left behind a complicated legacy. Alex Higgins is still remembered for his talent and the flair he brought to the sport. But his downfall serves as a reminder of how personal issues can derail a career. And that's it for this video. Subscribe so you don't miss any updates on snooker's biggest moments, and for more thrilling content, click on the screen right now.